Mike Brennan sat in his truck with the engine off and a manila folder on his lap. The medical office behind him glowed yellow through glass doors. February dark came early in Scranton, 4:47, and the sky already the color of old dishwater. His breath fogged the windshield. He'd been sitting here 23 minutes. The heater wasn't on. He didn't notice the cold. Inside the folder, genetic screening results. Required for the life insurance policy Claire said they needed. Blood type markers. Paternity probability percentages. Numbers that didn't add up. Dr. Chin's handwritten note was paperclipped to the top, blue ink on clinic letterhead. Mr. Brennan, please call me before discussing this with anyone. SC. O negative cannot produce AB positive. He remembered that much from high school biology. Remembered Mr. Kowalski drawing the Punnett squares on the chalkboard, making them memorize which combinations were possible and which weren't impossible. That's what the numbers said. His wedding ring caught the last gray light coming through the windshield. Dull gold, worn thin where it rubbed against his work gloves. 15 years of pressure had carved a permanent groove in his finger. He touched it without meaning to. The metal was cold. A man can survive being lied to. What he can't survive is realizing he helped build the lie. 3 weeks earlier, the alarm went off at 5:15, same as it had for 28 years. Mike's hand found the button in the dark, killed the sound before the second beep. Claire didn't stir. He dressed in the bathroom, jeans, thermal shirt, steel toes. The mirror showed a man who looked 52, gray creeping into brown hair, lines around the eyes, shoulders that had carried weight for 3 decades. He was downstairs by 5:30. Coffee in the percolator his father had used. The kitchen smelled like the dishwasher's rinse cycle in whatever Claire had ordered for dinner the night before. Chinese, from the boxes still on the counter. She'd stopped cooking around year 8, said it wasn't worth the effort for a family that barely ate together. The truck started rough in the cold. He let it idle while he scraped frost off the windshield. The neighborhood was dark, except for porch lights and the blue glow of early morning TV sets. The Kowalczyks next door, the Hernandez family across the street, people who waved but didn't ask questions. He was at the plant by 6:30. Brennan Manufacturing made automotive parts, brake assemblies mostly. Mike supervised the morning shift. 43 people across 3 lines. He'd started on the floor in 1997, 22 years old, and grateful for union wages. Worked his way up. The guys respected him because he didn't ask anyone to do what he wouldn't. Frank Kowalski, no relation to the high school teacher, worked line 2. 61, widower, been at the plant longer than Mike. He was waiting by the time clock when Mike came in. "Coffee's shit today," Frank said. "Coffee's shit every day." "Yeah, but today it's worse." Frank poured himself a cup anyway, added 3 sugars. "You look tired." "I'm always tired." You're more tired." Frank leaned against the break room counter. "Claire keeping you up?" Mike checked the production board. "She's fine. Everything's fine." That's what guys say right before they're not fine. "Frank, I'm just saying. I've been watching you, Mike. You got that look? The look guys get when they're signing shit they shouldn't be signing." Mike turned. "What's that supposed to mean?" Frank shrugged, sipped his coffee. "Means I was married 37 years. I know what a man looks like when he's stopped asking questions." He set his cup down. "You ever actually see the bank statements? Or just the summaries Claire shows you? We've been married 15 years. You don't trust your wife with the checkbook?" "I trusted mine with everything, brother. Then she died, and I found out she'd been keeping me alive in ways I never knew. That's love. What you got?" Frank's expression shifted. "I don't know what that is." Mike wanted to argue, didn't. The shift bell rang. Home by 6. Claire's Lexus in the driveway, the one she leased last year without asking him, just came home with it and said the payments were better than the old car. Emma's light on upstairs. Jacob's bike in the yard where he'd left it. Mike came through the side door. The kitchen smelled like nothing. Claire stood by the island, glass of white wine, scrolling her phone. She didn't look up. "Hey," Mike said. "Hey." She set the phone face down. "Emma's got a project due tomorrow. Jacob's gaming. I ordered pizza. I could have picked something up. It's already done." She took a sip. "Oh, I need you to sign something. Refinancing paperwork. Better interest rate." She slid a folder across the counter. 3 places marked with yellow tabs. Mike glanced at the first page. Numbers, legal language, the house address. "You read through this?" he asked. "Of course I read it. That's why I'm asking you to sign." Her voice had that edge, the one that said, "Don't make this difficult." He signed. All 3 tabs. She took the folder back. "Thanks. I'll drop it at the bank tomorrow." Emma came down for dinner. 14, dark hair like Claire's, still in her school clothes. She took 2 slices of pizza, didn't sit. "How was school?" Mike asked. "Fine." What kind of project you working on?" "English. Essay." "Need any help?" I'm good. She was already heading back upstairs. Emma. She stopped, turned. What? He didn't know what. Just wanted her to stay, to talk, to look at him the way she used to when she was small. Nothing, he said. Good luck with the essay. She disappeared. Jacob was easier. 11 years old, still young enough to like his dad. Mike found him in the living room, Xbox controller in hand, headphones on. Mike tapped his shoulder. Jacob pulled one earphone off. Hey, Pops. Hey, buddy, want to throw the ball this weekend? Maybe. Mom says I should do travel soccer. Says it looks better for college. You're 11. I know. Jacob's eyes went back to the screen. But she says, I gotta think ahead. Mike sat on the arm of the couch. What do you want to do? Jacob shrugged. I don't know. What do you think? And that's when Mike felt it, the question under the question. What do you think, Pops? Like a kid, asking permission to have his own opinion? I think you should play what you love, Mike said. Okay, Jacob nodded, kept playing. Mike watched him for another minute, then went to the basement. Downstairs, the furnace hummed. Boxes stacked in corners, Christmas decorations, old tax returns, his father's tools. He sat on the bottom step and listened to the house. Footsteps upstairs. The muffled sound of Emma's music through her door. Claire's voice on a phone call he couldn't quite hear. His phone buzzed. Claire, did you get dog food? They didn't have a dog? He stared at the text. Started typing we don't have a dog, then realized she meant to send that to someone else. He deleted his reply. Typed, no, sorry, I'll grab some tomorrow. 3 dots. Then, never mind, I'll get it. He sat there in the basement, holding his phone, wondering who the hell had a dog. 2 days later, Claire mentioned the life insurance. Said they needed it, $500,000, both of them. Some new underwriting requirement. Genetic screening. She'd already scheduled his appointment. It's routine, she said. Everyone does it. He went because that's what he did. He showed up, signed the forms, rolled up his sleeve for the blood draw, trusted. Valentine's week, 5 days before the medical office. Mike took off early from work on February 10th, clocked out at 2, told his supervisor he had a family thing. Emma's school was doing Our Town, and she had a part. Not the lead, but still. Mike hadn't missed a school event since she was in kindergarten. The auditorium smelled like floor wax and teenage sweat. He found a seat in the middle section. Claire showed up 10 minutes late, wearing her work clothes, blazer, heels, real estate company lanyard still around her neck. She slid in beside him without saying hello. Traffic, she whispered. Mike nodded, didn't mention that her office was 8 minutes from the school. The lights dimmed, student orchestra warming up, squeaky violins, someone hitting the wrong keys on a piano. Then the curtain opened, Emma played Emily Webb. She wore a pale blue dress that Claire must have bought. Mike hadn't seen it before. Her hair was pinned back. She looked older under the stage lights. When she delivered her monologue, the one about not appreciating life until it's gone, Mike felt something tighten in his chest. Do any human beings ever realize life while they live it every minute? Emma's voice carried across the auditorium, small and clear and heartbreaking. Mike glanced at Claire. She was scrolling her phone, screen brightness turned down but still visible in the dark. After the show, Emma came out into the lobby surrounded by friends. Mike waited by the wall. She saw him, waved, then turned back to her group. Claire was already walking toward the parking lot. Em, you were great, Mike called. She glanced back. Thanks. Then to her friends. That's my dad. Not my parents, just my dad. Claire was waiting in the Lexus, engine running. Mike climbed into his truck, followed her taillights home through streets he'd driven for 15 years. February 12th, Wednesday night, Mike took Jacob to Applebee's, just the two of them. Claire said she had a late showing, some couple looking at condos near the university. Jacob ordered chicken tenders. Mike got the steak. The restaurant was half empty, piped-in music competing with the sound of the kitchen. How's baseball looking? Mike asked. Tryouts are next week. Jacob dumped ketchup on his fries. I'm nervous. You got a good arm. You'll make it. Mom says I should quit and do travel soccer. Says it looks better for college. Mike set his fork down. You're 11. I know, but she says I gotta think ahead. Jacob looked up. What do you think, Pops? There it was again. That question. What do you think? Like the kid needed permission to want something. What do you want to do? Mike asked. Jacob shrugged, pushed a fry around his plate. I like baseball, but Mom says soccer players get more scholarships. You're in 6th grade, buddy. You got time. That's what I said. But Jacob stopped, looked at Mike like he was deciding whether to finish the sentence. She what? Nothing. Never mind. Jacob ate another fry, changed the subject. You remember when I was like 8 and I asked why I didn't look like you? And you said families don't have to look the same? Mike's hand tightened around his fork. Yeah, I remember. I was thinking about that. You were right, Jacob smiled. Families are just families, right? Right, Mike said. His voice came out steady. He didn't know how. They finished dinner, split a dessert. Jacob talked about a kid at school, a video game, the new cleats he wanted. Normal stuff, good stuff. The kind of conversation Mike used to think meant everything was fine. Driving home, Jacob fell asleep in the passenger seat. Mike glanced over, saw the kid's head against the window, mouth slightly open, one hand still holding his phone. 11 years old. Still young enough to fall asleep in the truck. Still young enough to trust his dad. Mike's throat felt tight. February 14th, Valentine's Day. Mike stopped at the grocery store on the way home from work. Bought roses, red ones, dozen in plastic wrap, $12. The cashier was a kid he didn't recognize. Someone's lucky, the kid said. Mike just nodded. At home, Claire was in the kitchen. Glass of wine, laptop open, phone face down beside it. She looked up when he came in. Oh, Mike, you didn't have to. He set the roses on the counter. It's Valentine's Day. I know, that's sweet. She found a vase under the sink, filled it with water, put the roses in, then left them by the coffee maker. I'm exhausted. Do you mind if we just order something? We could go out, that Italian place you like. I'm really tired. Let's just stay in. They ordered Chinese. Ate at the kitchen table while Claire scrolled Instagram. Mike tried to remember their first Valentine's, 2011, when they were dating. Dinner at that place downtown, the one with the candles and the piano player. She'd worn a red dress, laughed at his jokes, touched his hand across the table. You remember our first Valentine's? He asked. Claire glanced up. Our first one, when we were dating. Oh, yeah, barely. She went back to her phone. That was a long time ago, 14 years. Not that long. But she said it like it was ancient history. Mike looked at the roses wilting in their vase, realized they'd be dead by the weekend and Claire wouldn't notice. February 15th, the next night. Frank Kowalski invited Mike over after shift. Flyers game's on. Got beer. Come by if you want. Mike almost said no. Claire didn't like Frank, called him a bitter old man, said Mike shouldn't encourage negative energy. But Mike went anyway, told Claire he was grabbing a drink with some guys from work. Frank's house was small, one-story rancher, 2 blocks from the plant. Inside, clean, sparse, photos everywhere. Frank and his wife Linda, their wedding, vacations, holidays, her funeral. Frank in a black suit holding a folded flag. Frank still wore his wedding ring. They sat in the living room, Flyers losing 3-1. Frank cracked 2 Yuanglings, handed one to Mike. She died 8 years ago, Frank said, catching Mike's glance at the photos. Cancer, fast kind. I'm sorry. Yeah, me too. Frank took a drink. You know what she told me before she died? She said, "Why, Frank, don't you dare let loneliness make you stupid. Some people see a good man and they see a target." Mike stared at his beer. Frank, I'm not saying your wife's doing anything wrong. I'm saying you've been looking like a man who's forgotten he's allowed to ask questions. We've been married 15 years. I was married 37. Still doesn't mean I knew everything. Frank leaned back. Look, I'm not trying to get in your business. But Mike, when's the last time you actually saw a bank statement? Not a summary. The actual statement. But Mike didn't answer. When's the last time she let you in on a decision before it was already made? She's better with that stuff. Or she wants you to think you are worse at it. Frank set his beer down. I'm just saying, you ever need a place to think? Doors open, no questions asked. Mike wanted to argue, wanted to defend Claire, his marriage, the life they'd built. But sitting in Frank's living room, surrounded by photos of real love, real partnership, he couldn't. Thanks, Mike said quietly. They watched the rest of the game in silence. Driving home, Mike's headlights caught the reflective paint on street signs. Stop, yield, one way. The dashboard glowed green. His wedding ring caught the light. 15 years of wear, the groove in his finger permanent now. He thought about Frank's question. When's the last time she let you in on a decision? Couldn't remember. He thought about Emma calling him Michael now instead of Dad. He thought about Jacob asking, "What do you think, Pops?" Like a kid who'd learned his opinions didn't matter. He thought about Claire's phone always face down, her late showings, her texts to the wrong person. Maybe Frank was wrong. Maybe Mike was just tired. Maybe 15 years of marriage just looked like this. But the thought stuck. By the time he pulled into the driveway, the roses on the kitchen counter were already starting to droop. February 18th, 3:47 p.m. The phone call came during afternoon shift. Mike's cell vibrated in his pocket while he was checking Line 3's output logs. He stepped into the hallway to answer. Mr. Brennan, this is Jennifer from Dr. Chen's office. Your test results came back faster than expected. Dr. Chen would like to discuss them with you in person. Can you come in today? Mike leaned against the cinder block wall. Is something wrong? Dr. Chen just prefers to go over results face to face. We have an opening at 4:15 if you're available. He looked at his watch. Shift ended at 5. I can be there. Perfect. We'll see you then. The line went dead. Mike stood in the hallway listening to the machinery hum through the walls. Quality control alarms, hydraulic presses, the rhythmic clank of assembly lines, sounds he'd heard for 28 years. He texted Claire. Got called into doctor. Test results. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally. Is everything okay? They didn't say. Going now. Okay. Let me know. He stared at her response. 2 words. No concern. No, do you want me to come with you? No, I'm worried. Just okay. The medical office was in a strip mall off Road 11, sandwiched between a CVS and a tax preparation place, with an inflatable mascot losing air in the parking lot. Mike pulled in at 4:12, sat in the truck with the engine running, told himself this was routine. Probably cholesterol, blood pressure, something normal. Inside, the waiting room smelled like hand sanitizer and old magazines. CNN played on a wall-mounted TV, some anchor talking about economic indicators Mike didn't understand. He checked in at the desk. The receptionist, middle-aged woman with reading glasses on a chain, smiled professionally. Have a seat, Dr. Chen will be right with you. He sat, picked up a Field and Stream from 2022, flipped through articles on bass fishing and deer hunting, read the same paragraph 3 times without absorbing a word. His phone buzzed. Claire, picking up Jacob from practice. What do you want for dinner? He typed, whatever you want. Always the same answer. A nurse called his name. Led him down a hallway, fluorescent lights, beige walls, framed prints of mountains and forests that were supposed to be calming. She took him to a consultation room. Not an exam room, just a desk, 2 chairs, diplomas on the wall. Dr. Chen will be right in. The door closed. Mike sat. The room was cold. The chair was plastic and metal, the kind that squeaked when you shifted weight. A clock on the wall ticked. 4:18, 4:19, 4:20. The door opened. Dr. Chen came in carrying 2 manila folders. She closed the door behind her, sat across from Mike. Her expression was careful, the look doctors have when they're about to say something that can't be unsaid. Mr. Brennan, thank you for coming in on short notice. The receptionist said my results came back. They did. She set the folders on the desk. I'm going to be direct because I believe you deserve clarity. The genetic screening flagged some inconsistencies that I need to explain. Mike's hands gripped the armrests. Dr. Chen opened the first folder, turned it so he could see. Charts, numbers, letters, and plus signs and percentages that looked like a foreign language. You're O negative, she said. Your wife is A positive. Those are your blood types from the screening. Okay. Your daughter Emma shows markers consistent with an AB positive biological father. Your son Jacob shows markers consistent with a B positive biological father. She paused. Let the words settle. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mike stared at the page. The letters blurred. He blinked. They stayed blurred. There's a mistake, he said. The lab. We ran it twice. Both times, same results. Dr. Chen's voice was gentle but firm. Mr. Brennan, I'm sorry, there's no error. The clock ticked. Somewhere down the hall, a phone rang. Mike's mouth was dry. How long would someone know? I mean, if they... Mr. Brennan, I can't speculate on intent. But what I can tell you is that these markers suggest both children share a biological father who is neither you nor identifiable in your wife's disclosed medical history. Both of them. Yes. Not mine. Not biologically, no. Mike's chest felt tight, like someone had reached in and squeezed. He couldn't get enough air. The room tilted slightly. Dr. Chen was already moving, handed him a paper cup of water from the cooler in the corner. Breathe, she said. Just breathe. He drank. The water tasted like plastic, like nothing. Does she know? His voice came out hoarse. Did you tell her? Doctor-patient confidentiality prevents me from discussing your results with your wife without your consent. I haven't told her anything. Dr. Chen sat back down. But Mr. Brennan, she requested this screening. She scheduled both appointments. She knew what it would reveal. The words hit like a hammer. The life insurance policy. $500,000. Claire saying it was routine. Everyone does it. Just sign here. She needed updated medical records. Needed him to sign beneficiary papers. Thought he wouldn't look at the results, just sign the policy and go back to work like he always did. But the insurance company required genetic screening for policies over 250. and Dr. Chen had seen it. She set this up, Mike said quietly. Dr. Chen didn't confirm or deny, just said, I'm giving you these. She slid copies across the desk, his results, Claire's, the biological impossibilities clearly documented, because I believe you have a right to the truth. What you do with it is your choice. But please, don't do anything rash. She pulled a card from her desk drawer. If you need resources, a lawyer, a counselor, I can provide referrals. Mike took the card, the folder. He didn't remember standing, didn't remember walking to the door. Mr. Brennan, he stopped, turned. You're going to be okay, Dr. Chen said. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but you will be. He nodded, didn't believe her. The parking lot was almost empty. The inflatable mascot next door had deflated completely. Mike sat in his truck with the folder on the passenger seat, stared at it like it might spontaneously combust. 15 years, 2 kids who weren't his, a wife who knew. His phone rang, Claire's name on the screen. Photo from their wedding, her in white, him in a rented tux, both of them smiling. He stared at it, let it ring, voicemail notification. He played it. Claire's voice, bright and casual. Hey babe, I'm assuming you forgot dinner. I'll just order pizza. Emma wants pepperoni, Jacob wants plain. See you when you get home. Love you, love you. He played it again, love you. The way she said it. Automatic, performative, like signing off an email, like a habit she'd never meant. He thought about 15 years of love use, morning texts, goodnight whispers, anniversary cards, all of it, every single one, lies, not even lies, just sounds. Words she'd learned to say because that's what wives did. Mike started the truck, pulled out of the parking lot, but he didn't go home, didn't go to Frank's, just drove. Route 11 toward Dunmore, then back toward Southside, through neighborhoods he knew by heart, past the high school where he'd graduated in '91, past the plant, past the cemetery where his father was buried. The heater blasted, the radio stayed off. The folder sat beside him like a passenger. He thought about Emma in her blue dress delivering her monologue. Do any human beings ever realize life while they live it? He thought about Jacob asking, what do you think, Pops? Like a kid who'd learned his opinions were optional. He thought about Claire's phone face down. Her late showings, her refinancing papers, the text to the wrong person about dog food. They didn't have a dog. Someone else did. Mike pulled into a Sheetz parking lot, 447, almost dark. He sat with the engine idling and finally let himself think. The thought he'd been pushing away for 3 weeks. She was pregnant before we met. She needed a cover story. She needed someone steady. Someone who wouldn't ask questions. Someone so desperate not to be alone that he'd believe anything. She'd picked him, not loved him, picked him. Like choosing paint colors, like leasing a car. His phone buzzed. Claire again, where are you? He typed, on my way, deleted it, typed you'd, I know. Deleted that too. Finally, be home soon. He put the truck in gear, pulled back onto the highway. The folder sat on the passenger seat. Undeniable, scientific, true. Everything else was the lie. Mike got home at 9, parked in the street instead of the driveway, sat in the truck for 5 minutes, watching the house. Lights on upstairs, Claire's Lexus in its usual spot, pizza boxes visible through the kitchen window. Everything looked normal. He went in through the side door. The kitchen smelled like cardboard and grease. 2 boxes on the counter, 1 slice left in each. Claire was upstairs. He could hear the TV through the ceiling, some reality show she watched. Emma's door closed, Jacob's nightlight glowing under his door. Mike stood in the kitchen holding the manila folder. Went to the basement. He hadn't been down here in months. Claire said it was too cluttered, needed organizing, made her anxious. So it became his space by default. Boxes of tax returns, Christmas decorations, his father's tools. The air smelled like concrete and old cardboard. The fluorescent light flickered twice before staying on. Mike pulled the string on the bare bulb over the workbench, opened the first box, old financial statements, 2010 through 2015, before Claire took over handling the money. He spread them across the workbench. Joint checking, joint savings, the house mortgage. In 2010, they'd had $74,000 in savings, his inheritance from his father's estate, plus what he'd saved working overtime. In 2015, the account showed AL200. He checked the statements year by year, withdrawals, transfers to accounts he didn't recognize, his signature on authorization forms he didn't remember signing. $66,000. Gone. He found the house papers. Original mortgage from 1998 when he'd bought the place, just his name. Then a refinance in 2012, both names. Then 2015, just Claire's name. Then 2018, Claire's name, different loan amount, higher. He'd signed all of them. Remembered Claire saying better interest rate. Just a formality. I'll handle the paperwork. She'd been refinancing the house every 3 years, taking out equity, putting it somewhere he couldn't see. Mike sat on the concrete floor, the folder from Dr. Chen beside him. The financial statements spread around him like evidence at a crime scene. His hands were shaking. He found Emma's birth records in a box labeled Important Documents. He'd never actually seen them. Claire said she'd filed everything, kept it organized, no need for him to worry about it. The birth certificate listed him as father, but there was no genetic testing required for that in 2010. Just his signature. His word. Hospital records showed Emma born December 18, 2010, 8 pounds, 6 ounces, full term. Claire had said she was premature, said the doctors were worried, but everything turned out fine. But the record said full term, 40 weeks. Mike did the math. They'd met in October 2009, started dating in November. She'd pushed for marriage fast, said she didn't want to wait. Life was short. Why not? They married April 10th, 2010. Emma born December 18th, 2010, 36 weeks after the wedding, but 40 weeks gestation, which meant Claire was already pregnant when she met him. He sat there on the basement floor, holding his daughter's birth certificate. Except she wasn't his daughter. She was Troy's daughter, whoever the fuck Troy was. And Claire had known from the beginning, had seen Mike at that conference, middle-aged, single, steady job, no family nearby to ask questions, and thought, he'll do. Frank's house at 11 p.m. Mike knocked. Frank opened the door in his bathrobe, took one look at Mike's face, and stepped aside. Coffee or something stronger? Coffee. Frank put a pot on. Mike sat at the kitchen table, same table where they'd watched the Flyers game, where Frank had warned him about letting loneliness make him stupid. Mike spread the documents out, medical records, financial statements, birth certificates. Frank read through them slowly. His expression got harder with each page. Mike, Frank said finally, this isn't an affair. This is fraud. This is identity theft. She's been robbing you for 15 years and making you think you're the problem. The kids are victims too. But Mike, if you don't stop her, she's going to take everything and leave you with nothing but the blame. Frank poured coffee. What are you going to do? I don't know. You know what you can't do? Confront her. Not yet. She's been planning this for years. You go in hot, she'll have 10 moves ready. You got to build a case, document everything, then you burn it down clean. Mike wrapped his hands around the coffee mug, felt the heat. I don't even know where to start. And start with watching, not dramatically, just notice. She's been sloppy. That's how you got the medical records. She'll be sloppy again. February 19th through 23rd. Mike started watching, not following her, not checking her phone, just paying attention, her cell buzzing at odd hours. She'd glance at the screen, then take the call, in the garage or the car. She'd tell him she was showing a house. He'd check Find My iPhone, the family tracking app she'd insisted they install for safety. She'd be at a Starbucks 40 minutes away. Jacob mentioned it casually over breakfast. Mom's friend Troy picked me up from practice yesterday. He's cool, has a nice truck. Mike's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Troy? Yeah. Mom knows him from work or something. What's he look like? Jacob shrugged. I don't know. Tall, brown hair, drives a Silverado. Mike nodded, kept eating. His eggs tasted like nothing. That night, he Googled Troy plus Devereaux plus Charleston. Claire's maiden name, her hometown. Found a Facebook profile, Troy Henderson, 48 years old, Charleston, South Carolina, works in pharmaceutical sales. The profile picture made Mike's stomach drop. Troy standing on a boat dock, sun setting behind him. 2 kids beside him, early teens. The girl had Emma's face, the boy had Jacob's smile. Mike clicked through the photos. Troy at a baseball game. Troy at the beach. Troy with the kids building a sandcastle. Captions. Best weekend with my crew. Missed them already. Countdown to seeing my favorites. Proud dad moment. The photos were dated. One from 2018, another from 2020, most recent from 6 months ago. Troy knew. He'd always known. And Claire had been taking the kids to see him, telling Mike she was showing houses, taking Emma and Jacob to Charleston, letting them spend weekends with their real father while Mike worked double shifts to pay for a house that was no longer his. Mike screenshotted everything, created a hidden folder on his phone, saved it all. The next morning, he clocked in at the plant at 6:30. Frank was already there. You sleep? No? Find anything? Yeah. Frank waited. His name's Troy, lives in Charleston, pharmaceutical sales. The kids know him. She's been taking them to visit. Frank let out a long breath. Jesus, Mike. Yeah. You talked to a lawyer yet? Not yet. Do it today. Get this on record before she knows you know. Mike nodded, went to his station, spent the day checking production logs and pretending his life wasn't disintegrating. At lunch, Claire texted, "Can you sign these insurance papers tonight? Need to get them submitted." He texted back, "Sure, Signed them that night without reading. She thought he was still blind. Still trusting. Still the same Mike who signed whatever she put in front of him. But this time, he took a photo of every page before signing. Saved them to the hidden folder. She kissed his cheek. "Thanks, babe." He smiled. "No problem." And in his pocket, his phone held the evidence that would end her. February 24th, Tuesday morning. The lawyer's office was in a converted house on Wyoming Avenue. Rachel Eng, attorney at law, referred by Dr. Chin. Mike parked across the street, sat in the truck for 10 minutes, watching people go in and out of the coffee shop next door. He'd called her yesterday, said he needed to talk about a family matter. She'd said, "Come in tomorrow, 9 a.m., no charge for consultation." He went in. The waiting room had 3 chairs and a fake plant, framed diplomas on the wall. Rachel Eng came out. Late 40s, gray blazer, reading glasses hanging from a chain, firm handshake. "Mr. Brennan, come on back." Her office smelled like coffee and paper, desk covered in folders. Window overlooking the street, she gestured to a chair. "What can I do for you?" Mike set the folder on her desk. "I need to know what my options are." She opened it, read the medical records first. Her expression didn't change, but her jaw tightened slightly. Then the financial statements. Property records. Facebook screenshots. Timeline analysis he'd written out in pencil on notebook paper. It took her 15 minutes to go through everything. When she looked up, her voice was careful, professional. "Mr. Brennan, this is textbook spousal fraud and paternity fraud. You have grounds for annulment, asset recovery, and potentially criminal charges for forgery and identity theft. What about the kids?" Rachel set the folder down. "They're minors. They're not legally culpable. But Mr. Brennan," she paused, "they're not biologically yours. If you pursue this, you'll lose any legal claim to custody or parental rights. You understand that?" The words landed like a fist to the sternum. "I raised them. I know, and I'm sorry. But legally, if the biological father is identified and paternity is established through court order, you have no standing," she leaned forward. "Unless you pursue additional claims, intentional infliction of emotional distress, alienation of affection, fraud, but that's a long fight. Years, and expensive." "How expensive?" $50,000 minimum. Maybe more if she contests everything. Mike looked at his hands, calloused, scarred from years of factory work. He'd spent 28 years building a life that wasn't even his. "She knows this," he said quietly. "She knows how the law works." Rachel nodded. "If she planned this as thoroughly as these documents suggest, yes, she knows exactly what she's doing." February 25th, Wednesday evening. Claire made dinner reservations, called Mike at work around 2. "Hey, I thought we could do a family dinner tonight. That Italian place downtown? Celebrate?" "Celebrate what?" "Nothing specific, just us. Family time." Mike's grip tightened on his phone. "Sure. What time?" 7. I already made the reservation." He picked Emma up from drama practice. She got in the truck, earbuds in, didn't look at him. He drove to the restaurant. Claire was already there with Jacob. They'd come straight from baseball practice. She'd changed into a dress, blue, hair done, lipstick. She kissed Mike's cheek when he sat down. He looked tired. Long day. The restaurant was half full, soft lighting, Italian music playing low. Smelled like garlic and wine. They ordered. Emma got pasta, Jacob got pizza, Claire ordered the salmon. Mike couldn't taste anything. Claire talked about a house she was listing. 4-bedroom colonial, good school district, young couple interested. Emma scrolled her phone under the table. Jacob told a story about a kid at school who'd brought a snake for show and tell. Normal? Everything looked completely normal. Claire reached across the table, touched Mike's hand. "I was thinking we should take a vacation this summer. Beach trip. What do you think?" Mike looked at her hand on his. Wedding ring she'd worn for 15 years. He wondered if she'd bought it herself. "Sure," he said. "The Outer Banks maybe, or Myrtle Beach. Somewhere the kids can swim." She smiled, squeezed his hand. "It'll be good for us." Us. There was no us. There never had been. She was planning. Already imagining him gone. Already figuring out which beach house to rent with the money she'd taken. With Troy. Halfway through dinner, Jacob said something that cracked Mike's chest open. "Hey, Pops, remember when I was like 8 and I asked why I didn't look like you?" Mike's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. "And you said families don't have to look the same?" Jacob grinned. "I was thinking about that today." "You were right." Emma glanced up from her phone. Claire took a sip of wine. Neither of them said anything. Mike set his fork down. His hands were shaking. He pressed them flat against the table. "Yeah," he managed. "I remember." "I was being dumb," Jacob continued. "Like, obviously families don't have to look alike. That's the whole point, right? Love is what makes a family. The words echoed in Mike's skull. Love is what makes a family. And suddenly, horribly, Mike realized he'd known, not consciously, not in a way he could admit, but in those quiet moments over the years when he'd looked at Emma and seen Claire's features, but nothing of himself. When Jacob's smile reminded him of no one he knew. When people at school events would say, "Your kids don't really look like you, do they?" And he'd laugh it off. He'd known something was wrong, and he'd looked away. Because he was terrified of being alone. Because he'd already failed one relationship and couldn't survive failing another. Because if he asked questions, he might get answers that would destroy the life he'd convinced himself was real. Mike excused himself, went to the bathroom, locked the stall door, leaned against the cold metal partition. His chest hurt. His throat felt like it was closing. I let this happen. I saw the signs and I ignored them. I signed the papers without reading them. I gave her the passwords. I stopped asking questions because I was afraid of the answers. I'm not just a victim. I'm a coward. He stood there for 5 minutes, washed his hands, looked at himself in the mirror, 52 years old, gray in his hair, lines around his eyes, face of a man who'd spent 3 decades working and had nothing to show for it. When he got back to the table, Claire was paying the check. Emma was already heading to the parking lot. Jacob was asking if they could get ice cream. "Not tonight, bud," Claire said. "School night." They drove home in separate cars. Mike followed Claire's taillights, watched Jacob's silhouette in the back seat. That night, Mike went to the basement, dug through his father's old toolbox, found the letter his dad had written him in 1998 when Mike bought the house. The paper was yellowed, the handwriting shaky. His father had Parkinson's by then. "Son, the most important thing a man can own is his word, not his house, not his truck, his word. If you give your word, you keep it. But don't let anyone take your word and use it against you. That's not honor, that's slavery." Mike read it 3 times. His father had been dead 11 years. Died before he could meet Emma, before Jacob was born, before he could warn Mike about Claire. Mike folded the letter, put it back in the toolbox. He couldn't sleep. Lay in bed beside Claire, listening to her breathe. Around 2 a.m., he got up, stood in the bedroom doorway, holding the medical folder. He could do it right now. Throw the folder on the bed, wake her up, demand answers, scream, break things, make her face what she'd done. But Frank's voice echoed, "Don't confront her, build the case." Mike went back to the basement. February 27th. Friday morning. Mike found Emma's journal in the bathroom. She'd left it on the counter, purple cover, her name in silver marker. He knew he shouldn't read it. He read it anyway. Entry dated February 10th. "Mom told me Dad's going through a hard time. She said he might start acting weird, asking questions, getting paranoid. She said I should be patient with him because he's stressed about work. I don't really know what's going on, but I wish he'd just talk to me instead of being so distant." Mike read it twice. Claire had been pre-framing him, preparing Emma for the moment he discovered the truth. When he lost it, she'd point and say, "See? I told you he was unstable." At work, Mike's supervisor pulled him aside during lunch. "Hey, Mike, everything okay at home?" Mike looked up from his sandwich. "Yeah." "Why?" "Someone from your wife's office called HR yesterday, asking about your benefit structure. Life insurance policies? Just wanted to make sure you knew." Mike's stomach dropped. "Oh, yeah. We're updating some paperwork." "Okay, just checking. If you need anything, employee assistance program, whatever, let us know." Mike nodded, went back to eating a sandwich he couldn't taste. She was making calls, positioning herself, probably telling people he was struggling, forgetful, difficult. When the truth came out, no one would believe him. February 28th, Saturday afternoon. Mike sat in his truck during lunch break, took out his phone, started a voice memo. His voice came out rough, tired. "My name is Michael Patrick Brennan. Today's February 28th, 2025. I'm recording this because I don't know who's going to believe me when this is over, but I need someone to know I was here. I was real." He paused, watched cars pull in and out of the Sheetz parking lot across the street. "I loved my family. At least I thought I did. I loved a woman who was lying to me from day one. I loved kids who aren't mine. I worked 28 years at the same plant, bought a house, signed papers, said yes to everything because I thought that's what good husbands do." His throat felt tight. "And now I'm sitting here realizing I helped her do this. I let myself be erased because I was too scared to ask questions. So I don't know if I'm a victim or just stupid. Maybe both." He stopped the recording, saved it to the hidden folder with everything else. Then he started the truck and went back to work. March 1st, Monday night, Mike told Claire he was picking up overtime shifts, night work, extra money for the summer vacation she'd been planning. She didn't question it. He went to Frank's house. The guest room was small, twin bed with a faded quilt, dresser with a lamp, window overlooking the street. It smelled like old wood and the lavender sachets Frank's wife had put in the drawers years ago. Mike lay on the bed, fully clothed, stared at the ceiling, listened to the house settle. No TV sounds. No Claire's phone buzzing, no footsteps upstairs. Just the creak of old wood and the distant hum of Frank's refrigerator. He couldn't remember the last time he'd heard silence like this. For 2 weeks, Mike lived between two worlds, days at the plant, evenings at Frank's. Weekends he'd go home, play the role, sign whatever Claire put in front of him, then leave again. He started driving to a clearing in the woods behind the manufacturing facility. Old service road nobody used anymore. He'd park the truck, kill the engine, and just sit. Morning, March 5th. The woods smelled like pine sap and wet earth. Rain had come through overnight, everything dripping, birds calling. Somewhere in the distance, a woodpecker hammering. Mike sat in his truck with the windows cracked, cold air coming in, coffee from the gas station going cold in his hand. He wasn't praying, wasn't crying, just existing, letting the noise in his head settle like sediment in water. A deer stepped out of the tree line, looked at the truck, looked at Mike, waited. Mike didn't move. The deer walked across the clearing, disappeared into the brush on the other side. The woods went quiet again. Frank didn't push, just made coffee every morning, left the newspaper on the table, went about his day. But one morning, March 8th, he sat across from Mike at the kitchen table and said, "Linda used to say, there's two kinds of quiet, the quiet before you give up and the quiet before you get ready." He sipped his coffee. "You figuring out which one this is?" Mike wrapped his hands around his mug. "I don't know yet. Take your time. Quiet's the only place you can hear yourself think." Mike started making a list, not a revenge list, a truth list. He wrote it in pencil on the back of a production log sheet he'd brought home from work. "What I know, the children aren't mine biologically. Claire has systematically transferred assets for 15 years, Troy. Henderson is likely the biological father. Claire pre-poisoned the social narrative, framing me as unstable. She scheduled the genetic screening, knowing what it would reveal. She's been taking the kids to Charleston to see Troy. I helped her do this by signing everything without reading it. What I don't know, why this elaborate con? Why not just leave? What happens to Emma and Jacob when the truth comes out? Can I live with myself if I expose it? Can I live with myself if I don't?" He stared at the last two questions. There was no clean answer. If he stayed silent, he was complicit. He'd spend the rest of his life knowing he let her get away with it. Let the kids grow up believing a lie. Let her take everything and walk away. If he spoke, he destroyed them. Emma and Jacob would lose their sense of reality. Everything they thought was true, home, family, their own history, would collapse. No right choice. Just two kinds of wrong. He wrote texts to Claire, never sent them. Draft 1, I know about Troy. Draft 2, I know they're not mine. Draft 3, why did you do this? Draft 4, I just want to understand. Draft 7, did you ever love me at all? Draft 12, were you ever planning to tell me? Draft 15, I loved you. I really did. He deleted them all. March 13th, Sunday afternoon. Mike walked into the woods, no phone, no coffee, just walked. The trail behind the plant wound through state game lands, abandoned hunting cabins, old stone walls from farms that didn't exist anymore. He followed it for an hour until he found a clearing, sat on a fallen log, watched the light filter through bare branches. The trees were starting to bud, tiny green points on black wood, spring coming. For the first time in 15 years, Mike wasn't trying to fix anything, wasn't trying to be useful, wasn't trying to earn love or prove his worth or make things easier for anyone. He was just a man in the woods, breathing. And he realized something. I don't need her to confess. I don't need her to apologize. I don't need her to validate my pain. I just need to stop giving her the power to erase me. The woods were quiet, wind moving through the pines, a crow calling somewhere. The smell of earth and decay and new growth all mixed together. He sat there for 2 hours. When he walked back to his truck, his legs were stiff from the cold. But something had shifted. Not peace, not forgiveness, just clarity. Mike drove back to the plant, clocked in for night shift. Worked quietly, checking Line 2's output, signing off on quality reports, helping a new guy troubleshoot a jam in the hydraulic press. Around 2 a.m., Frank came by, brought coffee from the break room. "You good?" Frank asked. "Getting there." Frank nodded, didn't ask for details. When the shift ended at 6, Mike didn't go to Frank's house or home. He drove to a 24-hour diner off Route 6, ordered eggs and toast, sat in a booth by the window. The sun came up slow, gray sky turning pale blue, then gold at the edges. The diner smelled like coffee and bacon grease. The waitress, older woman with tired eyes, refilled his cup without asking. Mike ate slowly, watched morning traffic start, trucks heading to the interstate, early commuters, a school bus stopping at the corner. For the first time in months, He wasn't afraid. Not because he knew what would happen next. Not because he had a plan that would fix everything. But because he'd stopped waiting for permission to exist. He finished his eggs, left a $10 tip on a $7 check, got in his truck and drove toward the sunrise. March 20th, Friday morning. Rachel Ng called Mike at 7 a.m. He was in Frank's kitchen drinking coffee. Mr. Brennan, I've assembled the case file. Medical records, financial forensics, property records, social media evidence, timeline analysis. We have enough for fraud charges. The DA's office might pursue identity theft and forgery. Mike set his cup down. Okay. But I need to tell you something else. I did some digging. Your wife filed a police report 2 weeks ago. What? Claimed you've been acting erratically. Mentioned you've been sleeping elsewhere, avoiding the family, making her uncomfortable. She's building a domestic disturbance narrative. Mike's jaw tightened. I never touched her. I believe you, but she's positioning herself. If this goes public, she'll claim she was afraid of you. It's a preemptive strike. Jesus Christ. Mike, this goes to court. The kids will know everything. The community will know. Are you ready for that? He looked out Frank's kitchen window. Gray morning. Rain starting. No, he said, but I can't keep living like I'm the one who did something wrong. Okay. Then we move forward. I'll file the paperwork Monday. March 22nd, Sunday afternoon, Mike sat in his truck outside the house, engine off, rain tapping the windshield. Jacob had mentioned it casually 2 days ago during one of their supervised visits. Mom said you've been seeing someone. Is that why you're not home? Mike had frozen. What? She said you're going through stuff, that you might have a girlfriend or something. Jacob shrugged. I don't care. I just want you to be happy, Pops. 11 years old, already being taught his father was the problem. And Emma had stopped responding to his texts entirely. Claire had told her Mike was having an affair. Emma believed it, wrote him off. That's when Mike realized if he didn't expose the truth, the kids would grow up believing he betrayed the family. He'd thought about it for 3 days, talked it through with Rachel, with Frank. The choice was stark. Option A, stay silent, divorce quietly, walk away, let the kids believe the lie. Claire keeps her reputation. The kids keep their stability. Mike becomes the villain in a story he didn't write. Option B, expose everything. Claire's fraud, the biological truth, the manipulation. He's vindicated. But Emma and Jacob's entire reality collapses. Rachel had said, Mike, legally, you have every right to expose this. Morally, I can't tell you what to do. But Frank had said, sometimes the right thing to do is the thing that hurts the most. Mike had spent 2 nights in the woods thinking, and he'd decided on option C, tell the truth. But slowly, carefully, with the kids' well-being as the priority, not a Facebook post. Not a courtroom spectacle, just honesty. Finally, he walked through the side door at 5 p.m. Claire was in the kitchen, glass of wine, laptop open. She looked up. Mike, I didn't know you were coming by. We need to talk. Something in his voice made her set the wine down. Okay. Emma was upstairs. Jacob at the table doing homework. Mike glanced at Jacob. Buddy, can you go upstairs for a minute? Jacob looked between them. Am I in trouble? No, just give us a minute. Jacob went upstairs. His footsteps faded. Door closed. Mike stayed standing. Claire stayed seated. I know, Mike said. Know what? Everything. The kids, Troy, the money, all of it. Claire's face didn't change. No shock, no panic, just calculation, like she was running scenarios. Mike, I don't know what you think. I have the medical records. I have the financial statements. I have the property records showing you forged my signature. I know about Troy Henderson. I know you've been taking Emma and Jacob to Charleston. I know you scheduled the genetic screening knowing what it would show. Silence. The refrigerator hummed. Rain drummed on the roof. Claire's expression went cold. No more performance. If you do this, she said quietly, you'll never see them again. They'll hate you. You'll destroy them. I'm not doing this to them. You did this to them. I'm just telling the truth. The truth? She stood. The truth is you were a lonely, desperate factory worker who got played. And if you try to play victim, I'll destroy you. I'll tell everyone you were abusive, controlling. I'll get a restraining order. I already filed a police report. I know. My lawyer told me. That stopped her. Mike pulled the folder from his jacket, set it on the table. Medical records, financial documents, Facebook screenshots, timeline analysis. You played a long game, Claire. 15 years. But you made one mistake. What's that? You thought I'd be too ashamed to tell the truth. You counted on my silence. But I'm done protecting your lie. Upstairs, a door opened. Emma's voice. "What's going on?" Mike turned. She was standing at the top of the stairs, had been listening. "Emma, go back to your room," Claire said. "What does he mean, a lied?" Emma came down slowly. "What lie?" Claire's mask cracked. "Emma, this is between me and your father. Am I his daughter?" Silence. The question hung in the air like smoke. Mike's chest felt tight. He reached into the folder, pulled out a simplified copy of the medical records, highlighted, annotated, explained, in terms a 14-year-old could understand. He held it out. "I want you to see this," he said. "Not because I want to hurt you, but because you deserve the truth." Emma took it. Her hands shook. She read. Her eyes moved across the page. Blood type incompatibilities, genetic markers, the biological impossibility clearly documented. Her face went white. "This says," she looked up at Claire, "this says he can't be my biological father, or Jacob's." Claire stood frozen. "Who's Troy?" Emma's voice cracked. No answer. "Mom, who is Troy?" "Emma, it's complicated. You lied to him?" Emma's voice rose. "For 15 years? You made him think—" She stopped, looked at Mike. "Does Jacob know?" "Not yet," Mike said. Emma's eyes filled. "Oh my God." She looked at the papers again. Then at Claire. "How could you do this? You don't understand. I understand you lied. To him. To us. About everything." Emma's voice broke. She ran upstairs. Her door slammed. Jacob appeared in this hallway. 11 years old, hair sticking up, eyes wide. Why is everyone yelling? Mike's heart cracked. He knelt down, eye level with Jacob. "Hey, buddy. Things are going to be confusing for a while, but I need you to know something." He put his hand on Jacob's shoulder. "I love you. That's never going to change. You understand?" "Are you and Mom getting divorced?" "Yeah, we are." Jacob's face crumpled. He started crying. Mike pulled him close, held him, felt the kid's shoulders shake. "I'm sorry," Mike whispered. "I'm so sorry." Claire stood in the kitchen doorway, silent, calculating. Mike stood. Jacob clung to his leg. "I'm leaving," Mike said. "Rachel Ng is my attorney. You'll hear from her Monday. I'm filing for annulment and asset recovery. The DA might pursue criminal charges. I don't know yet. But I'm not signing anything else. I'm not pretending anymore." "You're really doing this?" "Yeah." "Well, you're going to destroy this family." Mike looked at her, really looked at her. Saw the woman who'd spent 15 years stealing his life, piece by piece. "There is no family to destroy," he said. "There never was." He went upstairs, packed a duffel bag, clothes, his father's letter, the photo of him and Jacob at his first baseball game, the playbill from Emma's play. When he came back down, Claire was on her phone, probably calling Troy, probably already spinning the story. Emma's door was still closed. Mike stood outside it, knocked gently. "Em." No answer. "I'm leaving, but I'm not disappearing. You can call me anytime, day or night. I'll answer." Silence. Then quietly, "Okay." It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. Mike walked out the front door with one duffel bag and the folder under his arm. Claire stood in the doorway, watched him go, her face blank. Jacob stood in the kitchen window, still crying. Emma's light went off upstairs. Mike threw the bag in his truck, started the engine, backed out of the driveway, drove to Frank's house. Frank opened the door, saw Mike's face. "You did it?" "Yeah." "Good. Now the hard part starts." Mike sat on Frank's couch, stared at the wall. For the first time in 15 years, he'd told the truth. It felt like stepping off a cliff. April. The next 2 months felt like walking through broken glass. Rachel called with updates every few days. Her voice was always professional, but Mike could hear the exhaustion behind it. The DA is reviewing the case. Claire could face fraud charges, identity theft, forgery. But Mike, it's going to take time. 6 months minimum before anything moves to trial. What about the house?" "In legal limbo. Your name was forged on multiple documents, so those transfers aren't valid. But she's contesting everything. Claims you knew, claims you approved. She has my signatures. On documents you never read. That's not consent, that's fraud. We'll win this, but it's going to be expensive." Mike sat in Frank's kitchen holding his phone. "How expensive?" "More than we thought. She hired Mitchell and Strom, big firm out of Philadelphia. They're playing hardball. I don't have that kind of money." "I know. We'll figure it out." April 7th. Mike ran into Brenda Kowalczyk at the grocery store. She'd babysat Emma when Emma was little. Used to live 3 doors down before she and her husband moved to Green Ridge. She saw Mike in the produce section. Her face did something complicated, sympathy mixed with judgment. "Mike, I heard what happened. I'm so sorry." Her tone said she'd heard Claire's version. Mike just nodded. kept loading apples into a bag. If you need anything, Brenda continued, anything at all, I'm good. Thanks. He walked away, left the apples, went to a different store. April 12th, Frank told Mike over coffee, you know what the worst part of telling the truth is? People don't always believe you. But that's not your problem anymore. You told it. That's enough. Mike wrapped his hands around his mug. Doesn't feel like enough. It will, eventually. Rachel called again. April 15th. Paternity test results came back. Troy Henderson is confirmed biological father of both children. He's been cooperative. Claims he didn't know about you until recently. Says Claire told him she was raising the kids alone. Mike let that sink in. He didn't know I existed? According to his deposition, no. She told him the marriage was over. Told him you'd signed away parental rights. He's been sending child support to an account only she could access. Jesus. Mike, this actually helps us. He's willing to testify. He's angry she lied to him too. What happens now? He's filing for custody, joint with Claire, which means you're legally out. Mike stared at Frank's kitchen wall, yellowed wallpaper, clock that ticked too loud. Okay, he said. His voice sounded flat, empty. April 23rd. Emma hadn't spoken to him in 5 weeks, but Jacob called. Claire had agreed to supervise visitation, 2 hours once a week, neutral location. They met at a park near the library. Picnic tables, playground, mothers with toddlers, teenagers, skateboarding. Jacob got out of Claire's Lexus, walked over slowly. He'd grown since Mike last saw him. Taller, face thinner. They sat at a picnic table. Didn't talk for a few minutes. Finally, Jacob said, Mom says you're not my real dad. Mike's chest tightened. Biologically, no. But, Jacob, she says I have a different dad. In Charleston. Says his name is Troy. Yeah. Have you met him? No. Jacob picked at the wood grain on the table. Mom says I'm going to spend summers with him. She says he's excited to get to know me. Mike didn't know what to say to that. Pops? Jacob looked up. His eyes were red. Are you mad at me? Mad at you. Mike's voice cracked. Why would I be mad at you? Because of who my dad is. My real dad. Mike reached across the table, put his hand on Jacob's. Jacob, listen to me. Biology is just information. It doesn't change the fact that I taught you how to throw a curveball. It doesn't change the fact that I was there when you had nightmares. It doesn't change that I love you. But I'm not really your son. You are. Just not the way I thought. But that doesn't make it less real. Jacob's face crumpled. He came around the table, hugged Mike hard. Mike held him, felt the kid's shoulders shake, smelled his shampoo, same brand Claire had always bought, felt the weight of him, heavier now, growing up. They stayed like that for a long time. May 1st. Rachel called with news. We're settling. Claire's agreed to return 60% of the assets she transferred. You keep the house, she'll sign over the deed. She drops the domestic disturbance claim. You drop the criminal charges. Why would she agree to that? Because Troy's lawyer got involved. He's furious she defrauded him too. If this goes to trial, she could face jail time. This way, she walks away with enough to start over. And the kids? Troy gets joint custody. You have no legal standing, but... Rachel paused. The family therapist has recommended you maintain contact. Says the kids need stability, and you're the only father figure they've known. Mike closed his eyes. Okay. Mike, this is as good as it gets. I know it's not what you wanted. It's fine. I'll sign. May 5th. Mike moved into an apartment, 1 bedroom in West Side, 2nd floor, cheap carpeting, kitchen smaller than a closet. But it was his. He unpacked boxes. Didn't have much. Clothes. His father's toolbox, the photo of Jacob at his first baseball game, Emma's playbill from our town. He bought a used couch from a thrift store, navy blue, scratchy fabric, 1 cushion sunken in. It was ugly, but it was his. First night alone, he sat by the window. No TV, no phone, just coffee and the sound of traffic below. It wasn't lonely. It was peaceful. For the first time in 15 years, he wasn't performing, wasn't trying to earn love, wasn't signing papers or swallowing humiliation or pretending everything was fine. He was just existing, and that was enough. May 12th, Mike met with the family therapist, Dr. Monica Reeves. She specialized in children of divorce. Emma and Jacob had been seeing her since April. Mike gave her copies of the medical file. Redacted for privacy, explained in clinical terms. Mr. Brennan, what you did, giving them access to the truth even though it hurt, that's an act of love. She set the folder down. They don't see it yet. Emma especially is very angry, but someday they will. How long is someday? Years, maybe. Emma's 14. She's processing betrayal, identity crisis, and adolescence all at once. Jacob's younger. He's more resilient. but they both need time. And if they never forgive me, Dr. Reeves looked at him with something like respect. Then you'll have to live with knowing you did the right thing, even though it cost you everything. That's what integrity looks like. May 20th, Emma sent a text. First one in 2 months. I'm not ready to talk. But I read the file again. I understand now. I'm sorry I didn't believe you at first. Mike stared at his phone. Read it 5 times. He typed back, take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared, finally. Okay, 1 word, but it was something. May 27th, Memorial Day weekend. Mike sat on his apartment couch, window open, warm breeze, smell of charcoal from someone's grill downstairs. His phone buzzed. Jacob. Pops, can we throw the ball next weekend? Mike smiled. First time in months. He texted back. Absolutely. Saturday? Yeah, 2 p.m.? I'll be there. Mike set his phone down, picked up his coffee, looked out the window at the street below. His life had been dismantled. His marriage revealed as fraud. His children not his house gone. His savings depleted, but he was free. Free from the lie. Free from the performance. Free from the woman who'd spent 15 years erasing him. The medical file, the document that killed his old life, had completed its journey. From death certificate to legal shield to therapeutic tool. From grief to hope to redemption. He finished his coffee, rinsed the cup, looked around his small apartment. It wasn't much, but it was real. And real was enough. June. Mike settled into a rhythm, not a good rhythm, not a happy one, just a rhythm. Alarm at 5:15, coffee in the cheap percolator he'd bought at Walmart, shower, work clothes, drive to the plant by 6:30, same job, same shifts, same guys, but different now, lighter somehow. He worked 6 to 3 most days, went to the gym after, Planet Fitness down the street, $10 a month, ran on the treadmill, lifted weights he couldn't have lifted 2 months ago, came home, made dinner, simple things, pasta, chicken breast, rice. He'd never really cooked before. Claire had handled it, then stopped handling it, then they'd just ordered out. Now he learned. Watched YouTube videos, burned things, tried again, read before bed. He discovered he liked mysteries. The kind where regular people unraveled secrets, found truth buried under lies. He understood that now. No drama, no chaos, just life. Friday nights became a ritual. Frank's porch, 2 chairs, 2 beers, the sound of cicadas starting up as the sun went down. They didn't always talk. Sometimes they just sat there watching the street, cars passing, neighbors walking dogs, kids riding bikes. One night, in mid-June, Frank said, "You know what I realized after Linda died? Peace isn't something you find. It's something you build, one quiet day at a time." Mike took a drink. "I'm starting to see that." You're doing good, Mike. Better than most guys would." Doesn't feel like it. That's how you know it's real. July 7th. The phone rang at 8 p.m. Mike was washing dishes. Just a plate, a fork, a coffee mug. The sink was small, but it was enough. He dried his hands, picked up, unknown number. "Hello? Dad?" His chest tightened. "Hey, Em." Silence on the other end. He could hear her breathing. Music playing somewhere in the background. Something he didn't recognize. "I'm sorry I didn't talk to you," she said finally. "I was just, I don't know, mad, I guess." "You're allowed to be mad." I read the file again. The medical one. I showed it to my therapist. She explained it better. Emma's voice wavered. "I understand now what she did, what you were dealing with." Mike sat on his ugly couch. "You don't have to understand everything right now. You're 14. You're allowed to just feel." "Do you hate her, Mom, I mean?" He thought about it. Really thought. "No," he said, I don't hate her. I'm just sad. For all of us. Me too." A long pause. "Can I see you sometime?" Mike's throat felt tight. "Anytime, whenever you want. Maybe next week, we could get lunch or something?" "Yeah, I'd like that." They talked for an hour. About school, about her art class, about a boy she liked who didn't know she existed. About nothing important and everything important. When they hung up, Mike sat in the dark apartment for a long time. Then he texted Frank. Emma called. Frank texted back, "Good, told you." July 15th. Jacob sent a photo. Him in a baseball uniform, number 12, blue and white, big smile, glove on his hip, caption, "Made the team, first game Saturday." Mike texted back, "Proud of you, buddy. Can I come watch?" 3 dots. Then, "Mom says yeah. Game's at 10 a.m. Mike showed up at 9:30. Sat in the bleachers on the third base side. Claire was there with Troy. Tall guy, brown hair, looked exactly like his Facebook photos. They sat on the first base side. Emma was there too. Saw Mike. Waved. Didn't come over, but she waved. That was enough. Jacob pitched 3 innings, struck out 4 batters. After the game, he ran over. Did you see that curveball? Saw it. Beautiful. Jacob grinned. You taught me that. Yeah, I did. Work got better too. Mike got promoted in August, shift lead, more responsibility, better pay, $82,000 a year. Not rich, but enough to stop worrying about every dollar. The younger guys started asking his advice. About work, about life, about women. One kid, Danny, maybe 25, came to Mike during lunch break looking nervous. Mike, can I ask you something? Sure. My girlfriend wants to move in together, but I don't know if I'm ready. Mike unwrapped his sandwich. You love her? Yeah. You trust her? I think so. Mike looked at him. Then here's the secret. Don't ever stop asking questions, and if you can't ask, something's wrong. Danny laughed. That's it? That's the wisdom? That's it. Questions aren't doubt, they're care. Danny thought about it, nodded. Thanks, man. After he left, Frank, who'd been eavesdropping from the next table, said, Look at you, dispensing wisdom. I don't know about wisdom. You earned it the hard way. That counts. August 8th, Saturday afternoon, Mike drove past the old house. Hadn't meant to. Just happened to be going that direction to pick up parts from the hardware store. The lawn was mowed, flowers in the beds, Claire's Lexus in the driveway, Troy's Silverado parked next to it. Mike slowed, looked, felt, nothing. No rage, no sadness, no longing. Just, that was my life. And now it's not. He kept driving. August 20th. Mike met Emma for lunch. Panera downtown. She ordered a salad. He got a sandwich. They sat by the window, talked about her freshman year starting in 2 weeks, about her art teacher recommending her for AP studio art, about her friend Drama. Are you doing okay? She asked suddenly. Yeah, I think so. Your apartment's really small. He smiled. It is. Does it bother you that we're in the house and you're... No, he meant it. I like where I am. It's mine. She picked at her salad. Troy's okay. He's trying really hard. It's kind of weird. Yeah. But you're still my dad. Like, the real one, you know? Mike's chest felt tight. Yeah, I know. August 30th, Sunday morning. Mike's phone buzzed. Jacob. Pops, want to throw the ball? When? Now? Mike looked at the time. 9:17. He'd been planning to do laundry, grocery shopping, nothing important. Meet you at Naog in 20 minutes? Perfect. Mike drove to the park. Found Jacob waiting by the baseball diamonds, glove under his arm. Same grin. They threw for an hour. Talked about nothing. About school starting, about Jacob's new cleats, about whether hot dogs were sandwiches. Normal stuff. Good stuff. When they finished, Jacob said, Same time next week? Absolutely. Driving home, Mike's phone buzzed. Emma, can I come over next weekend? Maybe watch a movie or something? Mike pulled into a gas station. Texted back. Yeah, anytime. Cool. I'll bring popcorn. He sat in the truck. Engine idling. August heat shimmering off the asphalt. The world hadn't fixed itself. Claire was still in the house with Troy. The legal bills were still coming. Emma still had hard days. Jacob still asked questions Mike didn't know how to answer. But the kids were talking to him, texting him, asking to see him. He'd lost the life he thought he had. But he'd found something smaller, quieter, real, and real was enough. September. Frank died on the 3rd, heart attack, peaceful. Fell asleep in his recliner watching the Phillies game and didn't wake up. Mike found out from a coworker, drove to Frank's house, sat on the porch, cried for the first time since the medical office. At the funeral, Mike gave the eulogy. Frank told me once, peace isn't something you find, it's something you build. He taught me that truth isn't loud, it's just steady. And that being good doesn't mean being weak. Mike's voice caught. Frank saved my life, not with big gestures, just by being there, by believing me, by making coffee and not asking questions. That's love. Afterward, Frank's lawyer pulled Mike aside. Frank had left him the house. The will said, to Mike Brennan, the only man I know who deserves a fresh start, build something good here. September 17th, Saturday afternoon, Mike met Jacob and Emma at Naog Park, all three of them. First time together since March. They walked to the baseball diamond. Jacob brought his glove. Emma brought her sketchbook. Mike and Jacob threw while Emma sat in the bleachers drawing. The air smelled like cut grass and wood smoke from someone's fireplace. Early fall. The maples starting to turn. Jacob's curveball had gotten better. Nice, Mike said. You been practicing? Yeah, Troy's been helping. Good. They threw until the sun dropped low. Golden hour, long shadows across the field. Emma closed her sketchbook. I'm hungry. Pizza? Mike asked. Yeah. They walked to Mike's truck. Jacob climbed in the middle. Emma took shotgun. Driving out of the park, the light caught the trees, amber and rust and fading green, the sky turning violet at the edges. Mike's phone buzzed, Emma asking if she could visit next weekend. He texted back, anytime. The world hadn't fixed itself, but it had softened. And for now, that was enough.